what I'm going to do today is talk about psoriasis. I want to talk about my story, what I've been through over the years, things that I've found that have worked for me or that haven't worked for me. And hopefully in doing that, I can help someone at least get some hope, realize that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and find new ways to, new things to learn about, look into that might help you or your friend or your loved one, and improve your health and your quality of life, because without that, life isn't very good. Whew, my heart is pounding. Whew, okay, let me tell you first what psoriasis is. And there's lots of different explanations for it or definitions of it. But basically it's a skin condition or a disease where you have an overactive immune system and your body produces too many white blood cells, and that basically comes to the surface of your skin and shows in like a white or red looking rash per se. It can have like a little patch, or it can join and spread to other ones, or it can end up covering your entire body, which is what has happened to me multiple times now, literally head to toe. So basically it's a defense for your body thinking something's wrong, and some people say it's your immune system attacking cells when it goes into overdrive. But I like to think of it as our bodies trying to protect us, because that's what's happening. When I first got psoriasis, I was about 15 years old, and I was in high school, living in Australia, and basically I didn't know what it was at first. So I went to a dermatologist, and eventually I got diagnosed with psoriasis, which made sense because my dad had psoriasis and it is hereditary. So that's one thing to note. And I know there are tons and tons of people out there, like the huge percentage. I think Hannah mentioned it the other day. Hannah is actually on the story too, guys, from My Goodness Recipes. I'll talk a little bit about her as we go. But she is a lifesaver when it comes to psoriasis and eczema and skin conditions. So I will let you know a bit more about her as we go. But basically, I got it, and my dad had it, and other people in my family have had it. And I was going through high school, so I started getting these treatments for it. And it started with creams, like topical creams you put on your skin, which can be damaging to the skin. So they can thin the skin, which it did to me, and damage it. So I didn't like them, and they didn't really work for me either. I also tried many different oils on my skin, soaps, medicated scrubs. For my head, I remember using medicated shampoos and conditioners. None of these things were working for me. So I went into the next stages of that, which was they sent me to light therapy treatments. And so I did those about 3 days a week before school. So I was getting, and I'm not a morning person, guys, believe me. So I was getting up very early in the morning and going to this facility to get a light treatment where you stand in a machine, kind of like a tanning bed, like a standing tanning bed. And I was getting this treatment, and it was supposed to, I guess, the useful UV rays, I think it is. I'm not a pro, I don't claim to be either, so just telling you my story. But I stood in this machine every 3 days a week and got this therapy, and it does help a lot of people, I hear. And I do believe that sun for me and salt water are really big factors in making me feel better and my skin better. But unfortunately, those actual tanning machines or the light therapy machines didn't work for me either. So then I went on to, I remember trying like a acupuncturist that did this herbal medicines and teas, and I tried things like that. And I remember my parents were spending tons of money trying to figure out like what the hell we could do about all this, and nothing was working. So we moved on to the next step then, which was being put on a very serious, heavy medicine, which is called methotrexate. And that is actually, as far as I know, it can be a cancer style treatment where it's used to help the the cells in your body, and the overproduction of the white blood cells. And with the medicine, which I'll touch on more, came a lot of very serious, not enjoyable side effects, which I wouldn't want anyone to go through. Going through my VCE, which is the last 2 years in Australia, the last 2 years of your school where you have the exams, and it's the most important years going into, university and the rest of your life. And here I am literally covering my body head to toe, with clothes and hiding, for one, because I was so embarrassed and ashamed of how I looked. A very poor body image, very low self-esteem. I was depressed and just feeling horrible. But not only that, the methotrexate started to give me these crazy side effects, whether it was feeling sick or whether my hair was coming out in clumps, mind you. And then also it can lead to very serious problems with your liver and your organs inside. So I believe that I suffered for years because of those harsh treatments I was put on, which weren't necessary. But of course I didn't know that at the time, and a lot of people, we don't know those things. So moving on from that, I eventually went to someone else, and I finally was informed about the use of diets and natural changes, basically, to help my skin. And that was the very first time that I noticed a change and some relief finally from my psoriasis. So basically I stuck to the diet they gave me, and it was, I can't remember exactly, it was so long ago, that particular diet, but I know it was basically to cut down on, processed foods, red meats, things that are hard for your body to process, anything acidic or inflammatory. So I did all of those things, and I finally started to notice my skin getting better. So maybe I feel like, and I'll keep touching on this too, but maybe I was just having too many of the wrong things all at once, and my body couldn't handle it. And it was basically showing in my skin and trying to, my body was going into overdrive. So that's kind of a little bit of a backstory. But for psoriasis, there is usually what they call a trigger and a flare. And for me, the trigger is when I get sick, particularly with strep throat, for instance. And if I get strep throat, then I get worried because I know my immune system is depleted, and I need to do all the right things and basically try to stop my immune system from breaking down completely and my psoriasis from breaking out. So strep throat for me is a big trigger whenever I get a really sore throat for a while, and that can be for a lot of people, so watch that. And then after I was triggered from being sick, that's when I have a flare. That's when anything can be a flare for me really at that point. Alcohol, irritants to the skin could be what I'm washing my hair with or my body with. It could be perfumes, it could be any types of food, and healthy foods too. It doesn't mean that just because you're eating healthy, which I always thought I was in my adult years, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to stop things from breaking out. Basically that's when I tried to implement the diet thing straight away to try and fix and help myself before it gets worse. And that's the key too, is to listen to your body and to stop doing the things that are going to harm it and make things worse, which is sometimes hard to do because you kind of don't want to. You don't want to think, I can't eat that anymore, I can't do this anymore. But for a period of time, it is worth it to have a happier, healthier future. So basically the next time or any time, and I've had psoriasis continually since I had that first breakout when I was about 15, and I've had it since then. Sometimes it's just patches on my elbows or my neck, and I can manage to kind of cover it and no one knows, and no one knew for a lot of my life. But I've always kind of had it and can't get rid of it, but it's the big flares that are the most important thing for me to try to control, and for everyone. And I know right now with COVID, it's it's a very stressful time, and a time where all these things are even more prevalent. Basically, the diets aren't as good. People aren't getting outside in the sun as much. People are a little stressed or unhappy, and eating things they wouldn't normally eat, maybe drinking a little bit more alcohol because they're stuck inside, whatever it is. But these are all things that can make it worse. So I want to try and stress that. Be careful and mindful of what you're doing and what you're putting in your body. So I want to touch on now what we know, or what I know, because everyone is different. But I know that being sick and having a low immune system, being stressed, having a poor diet or digestion, because a lot of it is from what's happening in your gut, drinking too much alcohol, not exercising enough, or even can be exercising too much and putting too much stress on your body where it can't recover. And also taking medicine, for me, big no-no. A lot of people message me and say, what did you take or what did you have to fix it? And I feel that a lot of people, unfortunately, are looking for a quick, easy way out. And I don't know that. I don't know one, unfortunately. I wish I did. But I don't think that medicine is going to do that. I actually think that medicine can make it worse and harder to recover. So I will keep touching on that too. But those things for me are all things that contribute to flare my psoriasis when it's already been triggered and it's already bad. All right, well, now I want to move on, and I'm looking at my notes because I was so nervous. I wanted to write everything down to make sure I didn't skip anything important or miss anything for you guys. Are you still with me there? I know, I see that. Katie, is it? You're stressed out and you've had a breakout. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's things like Tana's saying, diet, antibiotics, exercise, sleep is very important, and hydration. Make sure you're hydrated and you're sleeping good. Because if you're staying up late and binging on Netflix, which we all do, but if you're not getting enough sleep and you're stressing your body out more, it's not going to help, guys. So be mindful of that. So I wanted to touch on when I first came public with my psoriasis. I had a huge flare. It was in 2018. I had a huge flare, and basically I was ignoring my symptoms, ignoring my body trying to tell me something was wrong. I had just come off my career with WWE, and I felt freedom and excitement, and I was just gonna jump on and go for it. So I was taking bookings on the independent wrestling circuit and traveling non-stop. I was booked wrestling 4-5 days a week, traveling, if not wrestling, and literally hardly home at all. My schedule was insane, and it wasn't like loops like WWE where you went from 3 cities within North Carolina and you just drive to each. It was literally like North Carolina to LA to Orlando to Germany. Like, it was crazy schedule. So that's what I was doing, and I just kind of jumped right into it, and I was loving it. And eventually I remember I went to Australia, and when I got to Australia, I'd been traveling for about 5 weeks straight, and I don't think I'd been home. And I remember I thought, oh, my throat's really sore today, and I couldn't bear the thought of being sick, because I just thought, I don't have time for this. So my throat was sore, and I just kind of tried to ignore it and keep going. Eventually, of course, because I did that, I got more and more sick. And from being in Sydney is when I started to notice little dots starting to form on my skin. And it started off with like a tiny red dot. And I thought, at first I didn't even realize it was psoriasis. And I thought I was just having maybe a little reaction to something. And then from that Australia trip, I went to New Zealand, and I had this big, awesome show I was looking forward to with SPW there. So I went there, and at the same time, I knew something was going on with my skin, and I had started to think maybe this is psoriasis, because I saw the spots that were tiny start to almost like spread and flatten out, and they started to look a little scaly, and that's when I was like, this is psoriasis. And I knew in my head that was bad, obviously, but I kept thinking, I've got this big show and I've got travels to do and I want to enjoy my time in New Zealand for my first time there ever, and I've just got too much on my schedule and I just can't deal with this right now. So I didn't. And I will say that I regret that now. Looking back, that was probably one of the bad decisions I have made. I won't necessarily say I regret, actually, because I did learn a lot from it. But because I ignored my body trying to tell me something was wrong, I ended up with a huge outbreak. It was already coming out and it continued to spread over my entire body. And I kept wrestling. I kept trying to do what I was doing. I traveled back, to Chicago. I did I think it was an autograph signing there, and then I continued on for probably another month or so, to the point where I was literally covered head to toe in psoriasis, all over my face, my entire body, right down to my feet. I have some pretty intense videos I took. Maybe I will share them if I get the courage up one day. But I was covered head to toe and I was still trying to wrestle. I was covering it up with makeup on my face, and I started to wear a t-shirt to wrestle and extra leggings or tights over the other ones I was wearing, so you couldn't see my actual skin underneath. And I just tried to make out like I was fine, which unfortunately isn't a smart thing to do. It got to the point where I was about to go on a Ring of Honor tour overseas. I was supposed to go to, I think, around the UK, and I was so unwell. My body it wasn't just my skin either, it was everything at that point. I was so run down, I felt like I could hardly move. I was so emotional and upset because my body was covered. I was embarrassed to be in public or around people, but trying to hide it, and I was really, really struggling. And I ended up thinking to myself, I need to put myself first right now, and I need to figure this out, because if I don't, I can't go on like this. And that is when I had to pull out of a huge overseas tour, which is something I was really looking forward to, but unfortunately it was necessary at this time because I hadn't listened to my body and my skin was going crazy. So at this point, I thought, well, if I'm going to miss this huge tour and I want to stay home, what I need to do for myself is learn and research and do everything I can to get better now. This is my time. I've taken the stress off thinking I had to go on tour and deal with it there. And I had done so much research. And that is actually where I came across Hannah, who's in the chat with us. Her Instagram is @mygoodnessrecipes. And I came across her Instagram page. And that is the very first thing that gave me a little hope finally. Everything that she was saying on her Instagram and in her book, which I have here actually, it's called Radiant. And I'm actually at my mum's house in Australia, so she brought the book too, because she was trying to help me. My mum was one of my, the biggest support, not one of, because I actually didn't tell people what I was going through, which also not smart. You should share these things with people when you're having a hard time. But yes, my mum was a huge help, and Hannah's book was the first step for me in getting better this time around, because it had been such a long time since I had that big outbreak head to toe. All of the things I was reading and learning from her posts and her book resonated with me, and they were things that reminded me of the diet I had done when I was younger, and basically made me think, reminded me it's my diet, it's the things I'm eating and what I'm doing and all this stress I'm putting on myself to have this crazy schedule and travel and try hide my skin, which is silly, from everyone. And that's when I really started to think, okay, this is what's going to help me. And I just kind of got hooked on her book and her things, and I messaged Hannah, and at that point she actually responded to me too, which was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me at that point, because I just needed a little hope. That's it. I felt so, and I know you guys probably have felt this too, but I just felt like I didn't know what to do anymore. And I didn't mention this, but when I had, right before that Ring of Honor tour I was supposed to go on, I ended up in hospital. And it was because I was feeling so completely horrible and I just felt hopeless. Like I didn't know what to do. And I took myself to the hospital and they admitted me and they ended up giving me a bunch of steroid injections and antibiotics and all of these things. And I was so hopeless at that time that I just went with it and took them all, which in hindsight wasn't a good idea. And I think that actually ends up making things worse. So just so you know, things like steroids and antibiotics, they wear your immune system down. So if anything, it's kind of like a cover up. They might work for a short period of time, but in the end, your body has to work that much harder to the antibiotics kill the good bacteria in your body, and the steroids, it just kind of suppresses your immune system. So it's not really fixed, nothing's fixed. And that's the big thing with medicine for me is you can take medicine and maybe cover something up, but it's just going to come back again eventually because you haven't addressed the root cause, the actual issue. And if you haven't done that, I don't know how people expect to get better. And for me, it didn't work. I know, and everyone's different. And sometimes people do see results from things like creams or different therapies. And I love that because I wish nothing for the best for everyone. And if there was easier options, that would make life so much easier, But unfortunately, I believe, and I like to stress the fact that medicines and antibiotics to treat skin conditions, I don't think are a good idea. People always ask me, what did you take? What are you on? I'm going to start doing these injections or this and that. And I just think, please don't. Like, it's not a good idea. And I'm no pro, and I'm obviously not a doctor or anything. So don't go against what your doctors are saying, but do your research, look into things, see what the side effects are, see what could come of it, if they're going to cause you other problems in the future. Because I feel like all medicines have side effects that you notice, even if it's not the time, that you'll notice later. And one problem leads to another, and that's not what we want. We want to get better completely. So after going to the hospital and that, I ended up finding Hannah's book, started the diet, and that's when I started to feel hope again. And I knew that for me, the diet is key and that's what's going to work. So Hannah wrote me back a couple times. We went back and forward, and I just jumped into this. There's a detox, there's recommendations on what to eat, what to eliminate from your diet, and things that we're probably all eating a bit too much of. And it's basically an easy way to kind of work out if you're having maybe too much of stuff, to what to cut out and where to start and where to go from, what things to try at least, and see if you can get yourself better naturally, which I think is the key. So at this time, I was not only doing that, but I switched to all natural body scrubs, hair products, and I stayed home for a couple of weeks. I gave myself time to recover. And that's not possible for everyone, I know, but, doing things like giving yourself a minute when you're stressed to relax, working on your diet and your health, being conscious of how your body's reacting to things. That's all things that you can do, that anyone can do. So I got, I was putting coconut oil. So that's one thing that works for me. Coconut oil all over my skin after I would kind of exfoliate my skin in the shower or a bath, and not like rough, but just kind of lightly exfoliate. And then I would use a dead sea salt body scrub, and I got that on just Amazon, but it's all natural, and it has the salts work for me, then definitely help. That's one thing. So I used that and natural hair products, and I stopped wearing makeup, things that could make my flare worse at the time. And put the coconut oil on my skin, like lathered it after as well. And over time doing that and the diet, my skin started to get better again. Yay! So I guess, again, I'll show you, this is Hannah's book, and I'm not getting endorsed or paid or anything, promise you. This was just the first step in helping me. I also wanted to mention Kimberly Vanderbeek reached out to me on Instagram, and she'd seen I had gone public with my story, well, with my post. I had some pictures taken, which was my friend Danielle Summeray's suggestion, and I feel like it was a very emotional, vulnerable day doing those photos, but it also is such a reminder of wow. And it's the photo I put on this the post for today, but it was such a reminder of what I was going through, and for me now, how strong and how many things I've learnt because of that, and how far I've come. So it's always important for me to implement diet and using more natural products when possible, instead of using medicines. So I will stress that again. And it got to the point, and I think someone just asked me this, was it Humira, the drug that I was asked to use? So eventually, after all of this, the time in the hospital, the diets, the people reaching out to me like Hannah and Kimberly that I was speaking with, I had seen a dermatologist too, and they had told me, oh, it's psoriasis, and what we're going to do is put you on, I think it's called Humira, which is a injection that you do to yourself at home. I think they do the first one in the office, but you do it to yourself every second week, I think it is, at home. And I just thought, even if, and I always believe that medicine just makes it worse, but even if it didn't, because they say these things don't have, some of those injections, they say they don't have side effects, but even if they didn't have side effects, I don't want to be having to inject myself with a needle at home every couple of weeks, in fear of not doing it and my skin getting worse again, because again, they just suppress it. They don't fix the root cause. So, and I know a lot of people get results from those things, but you just have to think, what is it really doing to your body and your liver or your organs in your body and your health, your gut? I don't know, all these things to think about. So just make sure you're doing your research, and if a doctor or dermatologist or someone recommends something for you to be on or try, think if there's something else you haven't tried that's more natural first, and if it's worth, and these things don't cost as much money as medicines either, but try a natural approach first. That's my tip, my advice. So when I spoke to Kimberly Vanderbeek, she informed me about Medical Medium, who is another person that has an Instagram page. It's just at Medical Medium, and he has a number of books, which I purchased all of them as well. And it's all about basically foods and diet, and how certain foods can heal certain problems. And for me, it was just very eye-opening. And it, again, gave me hope that there is a way to get better from all these, and it's similarities for psoriasis and eczema, I believe, and even things like acne and I believe that the things that are going on in our body, inside our body, come out in our skin, and that's when you know something's not quite right. And it's all about foods that you can eat and enjoy, natural foods that will help you get better. So it's worth looking into too, in my opinion. So that's, and I will write this on the screen too when I save this and post it later, so you guys can see. But yeah, definitely things to note, that medicine, not so good. Diet is really worth a shot, and see if you can heal things naturally. Right now, and this is how I got to think, wow, I need to do a Instagram live or something to try talk with you guys and see if I can help out a little bit. I was sick, first of all. I got sick maybe a month or two ago, and it wasn't COVID. Luckily, I did get tested, but I didn't have COVID, but I was sick, and it was my throat again. And because it was my throat, that is when, like I said, it's a trigger for me, and my skin started to flare up, and it was just the spots that I already had on my elbows, my neck, and my head. And my head started to go crazy. So I was a little bit worried about that. But again, because it had been a little while, I got a little lazy and just thought I just want to enjoy myself in isolation. And I was kind of falling off the bandwagon of eating like I should. And I was having a little more junk food, a little more, a drink here and there. I don't really drink much, but a drink here and there. And all of those things were contributing to my psoriasis being flared. And then I noticed a tiny spot starting to appear again. And that's when I got really worried. So I kind of had to just snap into putting myself first mode. I was isolating alone, and I started to look into all the diet stuff again. What I'd been having that might have been flaring, my psoriasis, things I need to cut out, and just to be more conscious of, because I do not want to go through that again where I'm covered head to toe. I just can't be there. And for me, I know how important it is now because of what I've been through to put myself first when it's necessary, and to be mindful of my health and my wellness and my happiness, really. So it's basically just a sign. I think my body's not handling everything. My immune system was run down or imbalanced, and I don't want to take medicine. I know that much. So basically what I'm doing right now is trying to stay away from the junk food, sugar, having more greens, more veggies, lots of veggies, a little bit of fruit, water for sure. Staying really hydrated is key. And I actually eased off my workouts a bit because I felt like I was kind of going too hard and putting a lot of pressure on myself. So now I'm definitely getting outside and exercising and going for walks, and doing some body weight stuff. But I'm not going to stress my body out right now because I just don't think I can handle it, honestly. So I just want you guys to be aware of those things. When you're struggling and your immune system's struggling, you don't want to put it into a more stressful state, because that's just going to cause more problems for your body and your health. So it's important to stay in a good frame of mind and to do things that make you happy. So for me, I've been doing my Taste of Tenille shows again, cooking and baking, and mind you, I've been cooking some not so healthy things, but I've been just taking them to my family's house and giving them all away. So I'm not eating them all myself. But yeah, it's not a good idea to do that. Well, actually, I'm going to do a recipe soon on Taste of Tenille that's little energy bites or protein balls using like natural foods and powder, hemp powder, for instance, not processed gross ingredients. And that's going to be a really good one for people that want some ideas that are struggling. So I just want you guys to maybe try some natural products on your skin. Take some stress off, do things that make you happy, and focus on your diets right now. That is key. And it's also, I think, a good idea to let people know when you're having a hard time, because I try to keep it all to myself often. And it was the times when I had a response from Hannah, for instance, or I got a message from Kimberly, or even just had my mum who was researching and trying to learn all about it too. And when I had those people that messaged me, it really kept me going. It really motivated me to stay on track and to get myself better. And that's how I got to this point where I am in a much better state than I was a while ago. I'll tell you that much. So thank you guys for all staying here, whoever's been on for all this time. And I wanted to, I guess now that I've kind of told you my opinions on things and what I think is beneficial or not, I wanted to open it up to some questions. And I know I've covered a lot of it, so maybe I've already answered some, but if you've got questions, I'm going to read some now, and I will, like I said, save this, upload it to my YouTube, which is youtube.com/Taste of Tenille. And so you'll be able to go back, and that way you can fast forward or rewind to certain points and write down notes, or you can share it with whoever's missed this particular Instagram live. Anyone can watch this back now once I save it. And I also would like to, like I said, Hannah's been in this chat, and there was some other people I've been speaking with lately, trying to learn about different things like doshas. There's like eating for your body types. There's people that have reached out with these awesome messages to me, which I'm so honored to be able to hear your stories and for you to share that with me. So thank you. And some people have like told me some of their success stories lately. So people use CBD oil, they said is good. Licorice, I heard lately. My dad actually said that he has been eating licorice and that's the only thing he's changed lately. And he noticed his skin has got a bit better. So I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to look more into that. Paleo diets, or what's the other one? Keto diet. But I think paleo maybe, because basically I think it's all about having fresh produce, fruits and veggies, and less of the processed stuff. So that's an easy way to go about it, is if this feels overwhelming or you don't really know where to start, have less junk food, more water, less stress, and eat healthier food. Try eat more fresh fruit and veggies. I think that's just an easy, good place to start. So what I will do is, hopefully if you guys enjoyed this, I will try to do some more in the future. Hopefully with Hannah, maybe we can do, Hannah's just saying now, licorice can be great for digestion. So that's an interesting, really interesting fact. And I get actually excited when I find out new things, and I'm still trying to learn so much about myself, my digestion, my gut, and why I'm having these breakouts. And so what I want to do is some more of these Instagram lives for you guys as we go, and we can help try figure it all out for all of us. And I'll do one hopefully with Hannah on the screen with me, so because she's definitely more of a pro than I am. And yeah, let's try to figure this all out together. So anyway, if you have some questions now, I'm gonna answer those for you guys. What type of shampoo should I use? Therapeutic shampoos with no luck. Okay, so for the products I use, I actually went on just online or on Amazon Prime, for instance, and I just tried to search for natural, completely natural products, and then I went through the list of ingredients, which is important to read the labels and to see basically what is in them. And it should be no harsh chemicals, and a lot of the products these days actually say no parabens, no and it has all these labels on them. So read what you're using and just try to use all natural. I can't think of the name of what I was using back then, unfortunately, sorry, right now. But I did search all natural products. Hannah's saying coconut oil can be used to massage into the scalp. I know coconut oil was amazing to use all over my skin, so that helped me a lot. But try not to use ones with the medicated stuff in them. I find they don't work for me anyway. What is a good body wash or soap for psoriasis? So I used, also on Amazon Prime, I will try write these in after if I find the links, but it was a Dead Sea Salt body scrub, and it was all natural, and it basically was a little bit oily, and it had literally like the salt granules in it, and it kind of exfoliated as I washed as well. And it left my skin feeling moisturized too. So that was a big thing, because a lot of people get very dry, coarse skin from the psoriasis. So that helped me a lot. I will try find what I use and add it in for you guys after. Healthy juice. So Hannah's book goes into juices a lot, as does Medical Medium. It's a lot about healthy juices you can have. But juice I know is good, because if you use just natural fruits or veggies in it, it's hydrating for your body, and it gets a lot of the vitamins and minerals into your body too, so that's important for your health. I know that one of them was basically apple, spinach, cucumber, and I'm missing one thing, I think it was avocado. But look at Medical Medium or at My Goodness Recipes, and I will link those two, and I'll try to write suggestions for a healthy juice. I hear that a juice or a smoothie is a really good way to start the morning when your digestion is slow and you're just kind of getting started with your day. A good way to hydrate and get going. So I will write that if you look back at the video later. There we go. Kale, spinach, celery, apple, lemon, cucumber, avocado. All good things to have in a juice. That's from Hannah. I want to say thank you guys for all being here today. Hopefully we can find some solutions for you guys and get everyone better. Sun, swim, beach. So I find that for me, when I'm at the beach or in the sun, I'm so much happier, which maybe just is part of not being as stressed. My skin benefits in big ways from being in the sun and in the salt water, particularly at the beach. I love it. For me, it is key. And I actually struggle when I'm in a cold climate, when my skin feels drier and I want to be all bundled up all the time. It's much better for me to have my skin exposed and get some sun and salt water. So try it if you can. Foods, okay, that's a good one. Foods that are known to cause flare-ups. So I know nightshades, so look up nightshades if you don't know what that is, can be problems for some people. It's things like tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, things like that. So look into that. And also processed foods, sometimes red meat can be hard to digest for your body. And I think, what else? Dairy, wheat can be triggers or flares for some people. It's different for everybody, honestly. I don't really find as bigger problems with dairy for me, but I do notice, for instance, if I have something spicy, I notice my skin is irritated and I'm itchy. So I can tell, you know, if I'm having some of those nightshades, for instance, that my skin is not happy and my digestion is not happy or whatever it is, but I can definitely notice it. So alcohol and gluten, so those things can be troublesome as well. So just keep an eye on those things, and if you can avoid those things and have just more fruit and veggies, like I said, even just for a period, it's not like you have to do this forever, but even just for a period, you'll notice your skin will get better. And the thing is with me, my skin did, I had to do that diet, the extreme kind. It was basically like a vegan diet I did for months, but my skin got better, and eventually I went back to a normal diet again, and I was fine. I was fine until I have, and when I say fine, I mean I still have a few spots here and there, but it's manageable, and I don't care. You know, I'm still going to live my life, but it was manageable until I get a trigger, like I said, like getting sick, and that's when it comes up. It can come up everywhere because of the foods and things I'm doing. So that's when I'm very conscious of what I'm putting into my body, especially. Oh, acid reflux. So when mine started to get bad recently, I was having really bad acid reflux too. So I think that's all associated with our digestion and what's happening in our guts. And that shows in our skin. The body is not coping well. So it's to do with, in my opinion, what you're eating and what you're putting into your body. So have a look into that for sure. I think we will wind it up. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with me, and I will try to do one of these again. Like I said, I'm going to save it, so go to my youtube.com/Taste of Tennealle, and you'll be able to watch this back and see anything that you might have missed or didn't get to write down. Stay happy and be positive, and I believe that we will all get better. Bye, guys.